Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are discussing Warbreaker, chapters 27, 28, and 29, wherein Siri, when she fails to find help elsewhere, goes to Lightsong for help, and kind of gets some. Vivenna meets with Thame again, and then also some forgers to advance her own sort of plan. And then we get another Susabron Siri section where they have some nice just conversation for the most part. And we end with a little bit of Vasher and actually some interesting information revealed there. So I'm Data, and with me today is
Joe, Jack,
and Jamie.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
To emerge and to breathe anew, for a purpose so far from my own. And this world I've awoken to seems familiar but somehow unknown. And the branches of gold on the skyline reach out to the sweep of the stars. The beginnings and endings of lifetimes, a guidance of light from afar. Down, down, down.
So yeah, still not maybe the action that some people were looking for, but I personally think these are some interesting chapters. What did you guys think of these 3 chapters this week?
Well, yeah, you said it. I mean, all the action seemed to happen off page, and then we show up after the action. So, well, there it is. Vivenna stuff was interesting. I did, as much as I was looking forward to some action, I did like these chapters. I think especially the Vivenna bits were a lot more interesting. And then we get Vasher Nightblood perspective for a very short amount of time, which was very interesting. We hear some different names for some of these characters than we had heard before for Denth so that was good. And then we have another character that is named that apparently forged Nightblood, so that was cool. And so we've got definitely some interesting information there. And the Siri Susabron stuff, I'll be honest, that was kind of boring to me. Siri Lightsong stuff was good, but I don't know, the kind of weird, like, gushy I like you, you like me thing, I think it plays kind of strange in this scenario because of the situation they've both thrust into. It's like he's a god, he believes he's a god because he's always been told he's a god, and they worship him as a god, and he's I don't know, it feels kind of weird and icky, but that's just my personal opinion. So I'm not super into that portion of it. But overall, I'd say these chapters were good, if for nothing else than just getting some good information. So,
sure, yeah, I can see that perspective on Siri and Susabron. It's a weird relationship to be developing, considering everything that's happened so far. Like, not sure who you're rooting for.
Right, and it's such a strange conversation to have, like, oh, well, how can you or are you only different because you don't believe in me as a god? And, like, I don't know if you don't believe in me, I don't know if we can have any kind of relation. It's like, that's weird. That's weird.
Your significant other doesn't expect you to believe that they're a god?
No, she's pretty down to earth, and so am I. Pretty aware of who we are.
When someone asks if you're a god,
you say yes.
See?
Sure, I guess. I mean, but that movie came out in 1984. Can we really trust it at this point?
I think the advice is still valuable all these years later.
Yeah, well, I would say if another god asks if you're a god, then you say yes. Or if, like, some lower deity, like a demigod, if a demigod asks if you're a god, say yes. Maybe that's where we should, like, draw the line.
We visited, I don't know, some family for Christmas one year when I was in college, and after my plane landed back in town, I turn on my phone and I have a message from a college friend, and it just said, "Are you Santa?" And I said, "Yes," period, and texted back, because why not? Like, how else do you answer that question?
It's like, yeah, sure.
It turned out there was a specific reason she was asking that, and I was not Santa, but it was just my
No,
default instinct.
I just have this suit for special occasions.
Oof, it's velour.
Yeah, it's a red velour suit.
It would be.
Yeah. I didn't get to shake my belly like a bowl full of jelly.
One of my favorite Friends scenes ever. That one. That is so good.
It is a good one.
Yeah, these chapters were okay. I still feel like we're just a bit spinning the wheels a bit, although it was nice for two of the main characters to actually interact for a change. We've got Siri and Lightsong having a good old chat. I was surprised when they brought up, it's like, oh yeah, like Larimar's really overweight. I'm like, wait, is he? I did not get that at all in the earlier chapters. Like, my entire picture of him is just, oh, okay, I need to rethink my mental image of what he looks like.
Tiff. My whole mental image of him is Tiff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and see how when we first meet him, how he's described.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it says Larimar, his high priest, was a tall, portly man with spectacles and a calm demeanor.
Okay, so portly I picture a bit of a gut, not rotund.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I read adjectives. That's something I never thought I'd say.
Yeah. If the movie Orange County is to be believed, Portly is pretty large.
Okay. Oh well. But yeah, their conversation was really cool. It was nice to see them sort of getting the measure of each other, and we'll see where that spins off. Yeah, the stuff with Siri and Susabron was a bit, okay, sure, they're doing this now, whatever. I can't say it really grabbed me, but I didn't dislike it. And then the stuff with Vivenna was kind of interesting. I'm just like, all right, we're seeing more of what they're doing, but then fucking out of the dark comes Vasher with his like page or so at the end there, and it's like, oh, okay, you just drop a pretty big bomb on us there, or at least I think it's a pretty big bomb regarding Denth. So that bit, that stole the show from all the rest of the parts of these chapters. When I got to that page, I'm like, oh fuck, okay. Speaking of rethinking things,
yep, it shines some new light on some of the questions that we've had for sure.
Yeah.
In such a small little section.
I guess we've been asking for ages. It's like, we want more Vasher, damn it. We need to know more Vasher stuff. And then he just swans in with like less than a page almost, and just goes, all right, here's your info to make you salivate. And I'm like, oh, fuck, yes, it does. And then he's gone again, I presume.
No, from now on, all Vasher chapters all the time. I don't promise that. I wanted to, I should make that clear.
Vasher's just going to turn up every once in a while and just do a mic drop and walk away. That's just, we're going to get to all these chapters of just like, okay, but Vasher, and then he'll go, oh, by the way, and then leave again. That's just how the rest of this book is going to go. That's my prediction.
Just every few chapters. P.S. Vasher.
It could work.
Oh, add that to the sign off. Like, Colo, P.S. Vasher.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like these chapters. We were hoping for some action, and even though we didn't get that, I don't feel robbed of it. Loved that Siri and Lightsong actually had a proper conversation with each other, and obviously plans for them to kind of work together a little bit more, which definitely makes sense, in the court of the gods. So that's cool. Hopefully she's gonna have another avenue now for information that might actually help her. Vivenna and Vasher. Yeah, I think that was a very good place to end those chapters. Just that one page, there was so much in there. That was very cool. And yeah, Siri and Susabron, I actually quite liked that chapter. I thought it was nice for them to again have an actual conversation. And this conversation of, I'm a god, I don't believe you're a god, probably would have happened if they were dating before they got married. I like that it's still happened now. And I like that their relationship is actually developing. It's maybe there's something at stake here. If it's like, oh, well, the God King's going to have to die. We still don't know what the threat really is here. So Siri doesn't really know what she's looking out for, but, she now has feelings for this, for Susabron. So, and actually cares about him as a person. So that is better, I think, than just having this is the God King and he's going to die and we don't really know him because he's this horrible, almighty God King that just this is his job and off he goes. Yeah, no, I actually quite liked their chapter. I thought it was pretty well written and made you feel the feels as you needed to. Yeah.
I'm glad Jamie at least is with me on like I like the way they're kind of setting up this relationship a little bit so that it's better than nothing that we've kind of had. Now that they can communicate with each other anyway.
Yeah, that definitely helps things.
I do like what you said about like how things would have gone if they dated first, and that just makes me imagine like they're setting up like an online dating profile on some Cosmere
the
app.
God King.
It's like believers only, please.
Yeah. But also a really interesting thing, like this guy, he's just not even aware that there are other religions and stuff, and I think that's really cool, and I'm hoping that kind of ties in somewhere down the track as well. It probably won't. We will probably never get the answers to that, but it's something I hadn't thought of in this context. I also really love that, yes, he does have a way of communicating. It really is writing things down in the God script or
the artisan script.
Artisan script. So at least he does have a way to communicate, and it means that not everyone knows that script, so
Paper planes
they can't all just read it. But yes, that was where I was going with this, is paper planes is still a reality.
It's coming back. Yeah, like no one tells him anything, so I guess he wouldn't know about other gods. And he's like, "Oh, you guys have gods too? Yeah, what do they look like? Or can I meet them?" And she has to be like, "Well, no, like our gods don't work that, or our god does not work that way."
It's just the concept of worshiping someone you can't see or speak to or anything like that. It's like, yeah, it's fun. Also, they make it you can't talk to the God King. You can't you can't look at him. And the guy's like, I just want to meet people. It's just sad.
I'm an outgoing, personable guy. Why can't I just like hang out?
God King is single, ? And ready to mingle, ! I
also really liked how they talked about how he. I really liked how they talked about how he sees. So like everything is just colors, and that the Siri is a bit different. Like because he has so much breath. I thought that was nice to have that kind of explained as well, because we literally don't know anyone else who has that much breath. So
right.
Makes sense that it would be enhanced, but
yep, all sorts of interesting information.
Yeah.
I mean, like how he sees may not come into play much in the plot, as who knows, but it's interesting nonetheless.
It'll just help, I think, with the world building too, and you end up building your picture, and yep. I don't know, just kind of it built this really, like, because you hear about Vivenna talking about how she sees color and how that's changed for her, and then to have these extra level, it built a really pretty picture in my head, and I was just like, that's really cool.
For me, it was vaguely reminiscent of how like Inquisitors see, except for them it's like all one color. Let's say we've got a repeat of that theme where the super powerful person sees things very differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
That really powerful beings just need a good optometrist.
Well, I mean, when you shove spikes through your eyes, then it can be a problem. You go to the eye doctor and like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't think glasses are going to help here. Okay, let's get into these chapters. Let's do the thing with the thing in the thing. So chapter 27, we were with Siri, and she's like, something must happen to these previous god kings that makes Bluefingers so worried. But what? And I like how she doesn't even know about the details of the treaty that caused her to be here. She's like, maybe the treaty just says the king of Idris had 20 years to provide a bride. Maybe that's why my dad could send me instead. It's like, damn, I really should have paid attention to those lessons.
To be fair, never expected to be here, so.
Right.
That's true, but it's still kind of an important thing for her nation, is this treaty.
Yeah, it makes me think of Final Fantasy VII, where Yuffie gets captured, and she's like, I should have paid more attention to these rope escape lessons, since I'm a ninja and stuff.
And then Bluefingers seems to be avoiding her. She's like, I need more answers. The only person who's given me any answers is Bluefingers. And then when he sees her coming, he like basically runs out and like ducks through a doorway and disappears.
I can't solve all your problems, damn it.
He's avoiding her because of the warning, and she wants more information about the warning. I was like, well, don't give her the warning then.
Right? Yeah. You should have known what was going to happen here. No one is telling her anything else, so obviously she's going to come after you. Colors, she swore. You still think he isn't avoiding me? And the servant's like, well, it wouldn't be proper for a servant of the palace to avoid the queen. He must just not have seen you.
How convenient for him.
And so he's avoiding her, and she's gone back to the palace library, and she seems to have actually like tried reading there. But it says the priests were disruptively distracting if she tried to read in the library itself. And if she requested books from the city, the priest insisted they be brought by a priest and then read to her so as not to strain her eyes.
I'm imagining priests being distracting in a library. It makes me think of that ridiculous game show that was in a library where they had to do all these challenges but not laugh.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
It was pretty dumb.
I gotta look up.
I think it was called Silent Library, maybe?
I searched for game show in a library, and the first one that came up was The Hustler, which did sort of take place in a library-type room in a mansion. But yeah, Silent Library was the name of the show. Modeled after Japanese game shows, so you know it's got to be good. This says.
Sure.
So yes, I wonder what they do. They're just like accidentally elbowing her in the head as they pass by. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. All these books, I couldn't see you.
That one guy just chews really loudly.
It's like, I'm going to practice my singing now. Or do you normally do that in the library? Yes, I do.
And then Blushweaver's guy just started beating up everyone else. It was really annoying.
So Siri's basically like, yeah, they're trying to stop me from learning whatever it is it would be in these books. But I can't get books. I can't go to the priests and the scribes. What else can I do? And then she's like, wait a second, there is another source of information. What activities are going on in the courtyard today? And one of the women who serves her, she's like, oh, there's lots of stuff. Some artists doing sketches, some animal handlers with exotic creatures. I believe they have both elephants and zebras. Dye merchants showing off new color combinations. And, of course, the minstrels. And in the arena, there will be games, contests of physical prowess. And she's like, okay, good. Prepare a box. I'm going to attend that. And we get another little brief bit of information about Idris, her homeland, where it's like, they don't do contests because, showing that you're better than other people, that's just putting yourself above other people. You're not supposed to do that. Oster gave all men talents. Flaunting them was seen as arrogance. But Halandrin takes a different approach, where she comes out and there's just a bunch of sporting events going on. Guys throwing rocks, guys running, javelins, shooting arrows, leaping contests. And she's like, oh, geez, all these men are really they're not wearing shirts. They've got basically just loincloths. This is different.
Just as Zeus intended.
Yeah. There's an annotation where Brandon was like, I considered making them all doing these in the nude just to like mess with Siri, but it seemed like unnecessary.
Yeah,
it does seem a little unnecessary, yeah.
That would really have been as Zeus had intended.
Yep, exactly.
It's true. Only leaf crowns around their heads.
And so she's here because she remembers that there was a god that talked to her. And more gods have talked to her since then, but just like, hi, how's it going, basically? Like, no one's actually had a conversation with her, apparently. And so she doesn't remember which one it was. She's like, hey, who's that god who came to talk to me before? It's like, oh, Lightsong the Bold, god of bravery. And so she finds him. Lightsong has apparently come to watch the contests also, so that's lucky he was here.
I think I missed before that his colors are basically
Gryffindor color, yeah.
Gryffindor house.
I don't remember if we knew that. We knew red. I don't remember if we knew red.
Yeah, I think we do because they there's one scene where it talks about all the different tents that were erected for each god and and it says all their colors maybe, or maybe I'm making that up. I don't know.
But yeah, very close to Gryffindor here. And so, yeah, she goes up to talk to Lightsong. And she's like, I trust your day has been pleasant. And he says, so far this day, I have discovered several disturbing and redefining elements of my soul, which are slowly restructuring the very nature of my existence. Other than that, it was uneventful. How about you? And then she's basically like, look, I still don't really know what's going on here. I was hoping you could answer some of my questions. And he's like, nope. And she's like, wait, what? What? I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong? And he's like, oh, no, I just can't help you because I'm useless. Haven't you heard? I haven't, I'm afraid. You should pay better attention. Shame on you, he said, smiling.
Smilingly is an interesting choice of word.
Right, yeah, I was just thinking that same thing. He said in a way that was smiley. Yeah, that's a...
Yeah, old Smiley Lightsong.
And so it's funny because in his perspectives, we've seen that he wants to help the queen, But when she comes to talk to him, he like is immediately just
His
putting
normal
her off.
smart ass self.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's just getting so irritated by his bullshit that she's like, you know what? I'm going to start being snarky also. It's like, I have heard your reputation. Word useless is not what I heard. Harmless, though I can see that's not true, for in speaking to you, my sense of reason has certainly been harmed. Not to mention my head, which is beginning to ache. And he's like, oh, yeah, both those common symptoms of dealing with me, I'm afraid. And she's like, well, I mean, you could just not talk to other people. I'm sure that people would love you then. And he laughs, and he's like, man, I knew I liked you. Come on, come sit up here. We'll have a talk. Talk to old Uncle Lightsong. I mean, he's like 5 years old, apparently, so that's probably not quite right. But
not in reality. I mean, he had a life before.
It's true, but I mean, if you don't remember any of it, is it relevant?
I mean, he's still obviously older.
Yeah, okay, fair point. I guess we don't know how old he was when he died, so he could be really old.
Yeah, he could be.
And he tells her to like come sit up here with him, and she's like, I don't know if that would be proper. And he's like, well, I'm a god. I define propriety. She's like, yeah, and even still. And so she's like, I was serious. I do need answers to my questions. And he's like, well, I was serious. I'm useless, mostly. But I'll try. I'll answer yours if you answer some of mine. If I don't know the answers to your questions, then make something up. I'll never know the difference. Unknowing ignorance is preferable to informed stupidity. I don't know that I agree.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Of course, do you ever agree with most of the stuff Lightsong says? Maybe that's the real question.
Yeah, I mean, I was really into Detective Lightsong, but now he's back to his old tricks. I'm just like, dude, your bit's tired. Come on. I feel like this is a scene. I guess it couldn't come before his investigations, but I feel like this is a scene that should have come before his investigations because I was starting to like him, and now I'm like, no, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, he's way too waka waka.
Yeah, it's just like he's like a character that's like he knows he's trying to be funny, you know, and it's like, yeah, that's not. He doesn't do it as well as Wayne did, like you know. But who can, honestly? Who can do it as well as Wayne?
Brandon's gotten better at writing comedy, maybe,
or worse.
Like she's like, what? Okay, so what happened to the previous God Kings? And he's like, well, they died. Don't look so surprised. It does happen. If you haven't noticed, we make laughable immortals. We keep forgetting that live forever part. And then she's like, okay, but how did they die? And he's like, I mean, gave away their breaths. Isn't that right, Scoot? And Lightsong's high priest is like, it is your grace. His divine majesty Susebron IV, so I guess they're all just named Susebron, died to cure the plague of dystrentia that struck Titalir 50 years ago. And Lightsong's like, wait. Isn't that a disease of the bowels? Do you mean to tell me that our God King, the most holy and divine personage in our pantheon, died to cure a few tummy aches?
Hey, man, dysentery's no joke.
Yeah.
And Laramar's like, well, I mean, I wouldn't put it exactly like that, but... And earlier, I kind of skipped over it, but like Siri thought that Laramar was like looking disapprovingly at her, and she was kind of pissy about it. Like, who is this guy to be looking at me like that? And now she realizes, oh no, he's like disapproving at his God. Okay. Like he's giving me like apologetic looks now. But that doesn't stop her from thinking of him as the overweight priest. I guess she doesn't seem to have heard his actual name. She's just heard him referred to as Scoot. So
yeah, you know, overweight priest. That's as good as Scoot.
Plus, she comes from a region where it's fairly poor and food seems to be fairly scarce. So people getting to that weight in general it'd probably be a foreign concept to her.
Might be, yeah. And he's like, well, look, diarrhea may not be a great danger to most, but the elderly and the young can still get killed by it. And it, you know, spreads other diseases when you have this going on. Slowed trade and stuff like that. So people in outlying villages went months without necessary supplies.
Yeah, the whole thing sounds really shitty. Am I right?
And then Lightsong's like, I mean, oh my gosh, I actually was helpful. How weird. And she's like, well, I mean, really, it was your priest who's actually useful. And I love, he's like, yeah, I've tried to corrupt him for years. Never seems to work. I can't even get him to acknowledge the theological paradox it causes when I try to tempt him to do evil. Which, oh yeah, that's an interesting. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective before. But yeah, it's like your God trying to get you to do evil. And she talking to you is like swimming in a river. I keep getting pulled along with the current, and I'm never sure when I'll be able to take a breath. And I like that Laramar gets in on the little like the metaphor here. He's like, watch out for the rocks. They look rather insignificant, but are sharp edges on the surface.
He gets in some jabs.
And then Lightsong's just going with it. He's like, nah, it's the crocodiles you have to really watch out for. But what we find out from Laramar is that The previous God King had been married about a year and had a child born only weeks before he died. The God King before him died to heal the children of a village that had been attacked by bandits. The commoners loved this story. And he'd been married for several years, but he died a month after his second child was born. She's like, was the first one a daughter? And the priest's like, yeah, how did you know? And so both times, right after an heir was born, the God King gives up their lives for something or other. That seems unlikely to be a coincidence. And she does think to herself, like, both of these could have just been propaganda. Like, something else might have killed them, and they just used healing a village and curing a plague as, like, the story that they put out. And I like Larimar's like, look, I'm not really an expert on this stuff. And if you keep asking Lightsong, he might actually just start making things up. Scoot, Lightsong said indignantly. That's slanderous. Oh, and by the way, your zebra is on fire. Just...
Wait, is that what it says in yours? His zebra's on fire?
That is what it says in mine. Is yours different?
Oh, really? Yeah, mine says your hat, which makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, same.
Interesting. Okay.
I wonder if that was like a typo when he changed it.
Could be.
I wonder if originally... Well, my thought is this. Maybe because, they talked about how, like, there's zebras and elephants and stuff, but that's not what they were watching. They were watching athletic contests. So I wonder if originally he wrote it to where they were, like, betting on zebras and elephant races or something.
Okay, yeah.
And then, like, he put that in, your zebra's on fire, and then he forgot to take it out. Maybe ours is revised. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't...
Yeah, Data actually let something huge slip just now. It's like the zebra thing. It's like actually a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's 100% that's the resolution of the whole story is the zebras show up.
The shard of this planet is actually a zebra.
Yeah.
It's like when the elves show up in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's all coming together now.
Yep. When the shards convene, it's going to be all these humanoid-looking people and one zebra.
Speaking of the shard of the planet, while we're at it, does anyone have any theories at this point in the story about shard or shards that might be hanging around on this planet?
Hell no. Breath. The vestiture with breath. I don't know. Will
Warbreaker? Got it.
I think it's like this with all the colors and stuff, and just some of the stuff left over from Lost Metal where they were talking about artistry and what have you. I feel like it's got to be someone artistic. But I don't know. I don't know the right word yet. I'll see if I can come up with something.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Creation or something. I don't know.
Creativity.
That's not a bad idea. We don't need to get into hints. It's fine.
Just dangle that carrot.
Well, I was about to say something that might have been a little hint. I'm like, there's no reason to do that. We'll just keep going. We get there. We'll get there when we get there.
Let's see. I could help him. Nah, I'm not going to help him.
But Larimar's suggestion is that she should try a professional storyteller. She can order one from the city as, the same way they order any other entertainment. And the professional storyteller should know lots of the facts that she would want and be able to tell her all sorts of stories. And she's like, why can't the priest in our palace be this helpful? That's a great idea. Like, she should just be like, can I requisition Lightsong's priest? He actually seems useful. And she asks if Lightsong would order in the storyteller for her so that, it doesn't raise any questions with her asking for it. He's like, yeah, I guess so. I haven't heard a storyteller in a while. Just let me know when. And she's like, oh, great, thanks. And he's like, no, wait. You're supposed to answer some of my questions now. Although he doesn't immediately say that. He tells her to wait, and then he takes a drink of his drink and talks about ice and stuff. And she's like, why am I waiting? Like, you promised to answer some of my questions. Oh, right. He wants to know about city watchmen. Did you know any city watchmen back home? She's like, yeah, a couple. Well, what were they like? And she tries to describe them. He's like, no, like what sort of stuff did they do? Were they inquisitive? Were there ever any murders in your village? She's like, yeah, a couple. My father always said things like that shouldn't happen in Idris, said that murder was a thing of, Halandrin. And my son's like, oh, yeah, man, we do that all the time. Quite the party trick.
Yeah, we love murdering down here.
Did these policemen investigate the murders? Of course. Without having to be asked to do so? And she's like, yeah, it's their job. Why would they have to be asked? Will you please come investigate this murder for us? I don't really feel like it.
You're describing Sherlock Holmes, so.
He's not a policeman. He's a freelancer. It's okay. I've been reading a bunch of Agatha Christie the last few months, and I just started the final Hercule Poirot book.
Ooh, very nice.
And so he's there's like 37 of his books or something, and so I'm on the last one now. And
I didn't realize there was so many. That's amazing.
yeah, there's a lot. And they go all the way from, like, I think the first one's like 1920 or something, because it takes place just after the end of World War One. And the last one is like in the 70s. And he was in the first book already described as like an old guy. He'd already retired and stuff. And so now it's 60 years later.
Yeah. Wait, how many books did you say there were?
I feel like it was 30, 35, 37, somewhere in there.
37 Snoogans.
In a row?
Yeah, that's really the only reason I wanted you to say it again, so that I could say Snoogans.
Fair enough. But yeah, he's also got some of that where he's just like, yeah, you know, that murder sounds boring. I've got no interest in doing that one. Okay, sorry. Back to, I like Siri's like, I mean, I don't really know that much about how they investigate murders. I wasn't really involved. And he's like, no, of course not. Why, if you'd been a murderer, they would have done something terrible to you, yes? And he's like, oh, don't go taking me so seriously. I gave up wondering if you were an assassin days ago. And then he says, now, if your servants and mine will stay behind, I think I have something important to tell you. And he takes her off and he tells her, you know, you're playing a dangerous game, the court politics thing. And she's like, oh, so you pulled me aside to give me a warning? He's like, no, colors, no. If you haven't already figured out this is dangerous, then you're far too dense to appreciate a warning. I wanted to give you some advice about your persona. Choosing the persona of an innocent newcomer was a good instinct. It suits you, but you got to work on it, refine it. And she's like, it's not a persona. This is actually me. And he's like, yeah, but that's the whole trick to politics. If you can't disguise who you are, then you use who you are, maybe add to it, but you know, use what you have to play the game. Take me as an example. I'm a useless fool, always have been, and I know that's how people think of me, so I play on it. And she says, oh, so it's like a lie? And he's like, no. That's who I am, but I make sure that other people never forget it. And she's like, you know what? You're a decent guy. I knew it even when you were insulting me. You don't mean any harm.
You're okay in my book.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I don't know what it is about me that convinces people to trust me. I'd get rid of it if I could. It just makes people expect too much. And he tells her, it's like, I can feel that you're digging for something. The trick is, don't make waves until you're ready to strike. Appear as non-threatening as possible, but not too non-threatening, actually, because people get too suspicious if you're too innocent. So appear average, actually. Just as crafty as everyone else, maybe a little bit less, so that they all assume they can beat you when the time comes. And she's like, oh, that's kind of the Idrian philosophy, is don't stand out. Okay. And his last piece of advice is, don't depend on me. Like, seriously, I'm not going to be much help. And if things come to a head, they start to go wrong, you're in danger, you're in trouble, don't think of me, because I will fail you. That I promise from my heart with absolute sincerity. Okay, bye then. And that's the end of that chapter.
Peace.
And so we cut to Vivenna for the next chapter, and she's meeting with that guy, the guy from Idris, who we met earlier, and he says that the meeting is set. We're gonna meet with all the Idrians. I've got contacts all over the place. It'll be great. We'll have over 100 people there, all loyal to our king, I promise. And they're influential men, all of them. Well, for Idrians in Tutelier, that is. And according to Denth, being an influential Idrian in Tutelier means that you can provide cheap Idrian workers and sway the opinion of the underprivileged Idrian masses. So they have power by oppressing the minority they represent, basically. So probably not the best guys, but that's who she's meeting with. And she says, how many Idrians do you think there are in the city? And he says, perhaps as many as 10,000. And she's like, what, really? He says, yeah, there's trouble on the lower farms. It's hard sometimes living up in the mountains. Crops fail, and then what do? The king owns your land, so you can't sell. You need to pay the taxes. And she says, yeah, but you can petition in case of disaster. And he's like, well, yeah, but it takes weeks to go to the king and present a petition. And during that time, your loved ones are starving. So you can do that, or you can take the shorter trip to Tutelier and make money on the docks or harvesting flowers on the plantations. And she thinks, yeah, and in doing so, betray your own people. But I can't judge. The fifth vision would define that as haughtiness. And she's like, Idrians shouldn't have to seek work in Halandrin, but that's the fault of our kingdom if that's the only way that they can survive is by leaving it. And she's like, my dad, I hate to find fault with the way my dad does stuff, but we don't have the most bureaucratically efficient kingdom. And then Thane leaves, and we get a conversation with Denth about how she's starting to fit in Halandrin a bit here. And she's like, well, I don't wanna. He's like, well, you seem to be liking that juice, all right. And then he points out that Parlin, who's now wearing, in addition to his brightly colored hat, like a bright colored vest and stuff, it's like, he knows what he's doing. He came here and got clothing that would let him fit in. And she's like, he looks stupid in those clothes. And he's like, well, I mean, would you think that he looked stupid if he went in the jungle and put on the fur of a beast or made a cloak that looked like fallen leaves? You're both fitting in here better than you used to. And she thinks, I mean, it's kind of all starting to feel natural. Even the raids are becoming surprisingly easy. And he's like, just a suggestion. You might want to try trousers, because you don't like the short Halandrin skirts, but the only clothing that we can buy you that's modest enough for you are like these long skirts of foreign make that are expensive and make you stand out. Trousers are modest and cheap. And she's like, trousers are not modest. There's a debate. Pants or skirts, which one is more modest?
Depends on how short the skirt is.
It's true. He points out that they don't show your knees. So I guess the Idrian skirts all show, the Halandrin skirts all show your knees. It's not modesty, apparently, according to Vivenna.
I like some loose fitting pants, and that would be all right.
That's a good point. If they're not like form fitting, then it seems like they would be pretty modest.
Yeah, we should ask her how does she feel about rompers, or
And during this discussion about motivations and the people, what people are doing and why, he's like, every man is the hero of his own story, princess. Murderers don't believe they're to blame for what they do. Thieves think they deserve the money that they take. I think even Vasher sees himself as the hero. The truth is, most people who do what you'd call wrong do it for what they call the right reasons. Only mercenaries make sense. We do what we're paid to do, and that's it. In a way, we're the most honest men you'll ever meet. And Tonkfa's like, yeah, but you forgot to mention, in addition to honest, we're also clever and handsome. And Dent's like, well, that goes without saying, clearly. And like Vivenna's retort, I certainly hope you're not the most handsome men I'll ever meet. Are we ready to go? And then Tonks, where's your monkey? Monkeys are boring anyway.
Here we go, another pet lost, and it's just like, what happened to that poor monkey?
And Dent is like, just get used to it. Of all the happy miracles in the universe, one of the greatest is that Tonks has never fathered a child. He'd probably lose it before the week was out. And so they're off to their next meeting in the Didenir Garden, where they got a bunch of these statues that people like to dress up. And these, I think it says that these were actually like some of the first ones, a gift from Peacegiver the Blessed to commemorate the ending of the Many War. And this one was actually Vivenna's idea, to get forgers to forge letters from some powerful pro-war priests to her father, basically like saying, you have to give us what we want or we'll go to war with you. So it looks like instead of patriotic reasons, they're just trying to make themselves some money, which is not a terrible idea. These forgers are really careful, where they kind of sit near them in the garden and then kind of have a discussion across this aisle. And they're like, you're the princess that everyone's talking about? And she says yes. And he's like, good. Royalty always seems to know how to handle itself. And she even has some examples of the king's handwriting to help them write a convincing forgery, and also is going to provide like some stuff to help them forge the seal, which that seems to me like probably a bad idea to teach some forgers in Halandrin how to forge documents from the King of Idris, but maybe that's just me.
Nah, you're thinking into it too much.
Means to an end. Lesser of two evils, perhaps.
That's true, yeah. Just
get the king to change his seal afterwards.
Oh, that's true. She could do that. And there's we see Parlin and Jules kind of chatting again. They were doing that earlier in the chapter, and Vivenna's a little bit jealous or something here. And she's like, really, I should just send Parlin back. Denth, on the other hand, is like, I mean, he's good to keep around. It's nice to have he's someone who's trustworthy and quick at adapting to situations. He's useful for that alone. And then Denth, she says he's a fool. He has trouble understanding half of what's going on. And Denth is like, we can't all be geniuses like you. What does that mean? It means you should learn to not let your hair change colors in public. She's like, crap. I used to be so good at controlling that. And he's like, don't worry, Jules has no interest in your friend, which we know may be true. since her interests lie elsewhere.
Still just uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder how we would have read this differently if we didn't know.
That's true. Maybe I shouldn't have told you guys about that. This would have been.
No, I think it's fine. Like, I don't think it took away from anything. I think if anything, it gave you a bit more understanding. But I wonder where our thought process would have been. Like, is she into Tongfa or like what?
Yeah, he
Maybe
just says.
Vasher.
He says she has other ties, so stop worrying. So yeah, you would have been like, oh, who's her other ties? Is she in love with Lightsong?
We never would have picked the zombie.
Probably not, right? After that, she's kind of looking at the statues again. She's finding some beauty in the statues. They're not like other kinds of art that are all flashy and bright. And she's even thinking about like this breath that she has. And it's like, I mean, it is kind of cool. The way that it lets me see these colors and sense life and hear changes in sound. It's evil, but it's also kind of wonderful. And so she even thinks for a moment about like the awakening thing. She's like, no, that would be too far. No awakening for me. And if I'm tempted too much further, then I'll just give it all away and become a drab. And that's 28. We go to 29, where we cut to Siri and Susebron. And he's like, tell me about mountains. Because he's never been anywhere else. And so she's like, how do I describe mountains? Jeez, okay. He's like, she says, I think that you'd probably find Idris boring. I mean, I liked it, and he's more boring than sitting in the same palace every day, not allowed to leave or speak, being dressed and pampered. And she's like, okay, fine, you win. And I like the thing where she's like, my tutors would laugh themselves silly if they knew how much I'd come to regret ignoring them. But she tries to describe the mountains and how beautiful they are. And they let you see the surface of the land as it extends upwards towards Oster's domain. And he's like, wait, who's Oster? She's like, oh, I probably shouldn't talk about other gods, in front of you. He's like, other gods, like the ones in the court? And she says, no, Oster is like the Idrian god. Like, oh, I get it. Okay, is he handsome? She's like, no, you don't. No, he's not returned. Have your priest really never told you about other religions?
He's full of just goes like, should we have this guy over? Like, what does he like to eat? I'll get the cooks to do something.
He probably thinks it's more like that. That guy's probably trapped in a palace somewhere else and not allowed to leave.
Probably.
And he's like, wait, there's other religions? It's like, sure. I mean, not everyone worships the returned. Idrians like me worship Oster. The Pancall, like Bluefingers, I don't know what they worship, but it's not you. And there's a note on this in the annotations where it's like, if you're curious, it doesn't really come up in the book, but the Pancall are nature worshippers who focus on the storms of the inner sea as a manifestation of their unity of five gods. They believe all returned are men who deny the power of the gods and are forbidden entrance into heaven, yet are otherwise just men and not sinners worthy of hell, so they're given a chance to come back to have another try at life to find belief this time around. So, random bit of trivia about this other religion. And so Susebron's like, this is all weird. Like, if your gods aren't returned, then what are they? And she's like, no, not they, just one. You guys used to worship him here, too. Before Peacegiver arrived, and they decided to worship the returned instead. And he's like, well, have you met this Oster? And she's like, no, you can't see Oster. I know that must seem silly to you, but like that's how we do stuff. Plus, we've got the returned, including the first returned, Vo. He had 5 visions before he died, and they must have come from somewhere. So we've heard them talk about the 5 visions before. In fact, Vivenna just recently was like, the 5th vision would have said that this was haughtiness or whatever. And so we find out this is the 5 visions that that kind of dictate how they act in that religion come from the first returned.
So the first returned is okay, but other returned are like abominations?
No, I don't think that they consider the return. They talked about it before, where she's like, yeah, some people have returned even in Idris, and it's like they didn't consider them abominations. They consider like giving them extra breath to keep them alive longer messed up. But it's like the awakening stuff with breath and also lifeless.
Simply returning is fine. You can return, you're just not a god.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense, I guess, because it's like if you return, it's not like you took somebody's breath to return.
Right. It's not like you made a choice, as far as anyone knows. I mean, according to the Halandran religion, you did actually make a choice to come back, but they don't believe that. So in Idris.
Yeah, but then like the Halandran stuff seems to revolve a lot around choice anyway, like people choosing to give their breath to the returned. So makes sense. They try and spin that into it, whereas Ostracism is just like, man, Ricky just fucking got up and came back again for like a week, and then he died again.
And so Sobron's like, but you don't believe in worshiping the returned? And she's like, I haven't really decided yet. I mean, like, people teach really strongly against it, but they just don't like Halandrin and stuff in general. And he's like, what, you don't like me? And she's like, no, I like you. You're sweet. And he frowned. I don't think God Kings are supposed to be sweet. And she's like, fine, you're terrible and mighty, awesome and deific and sweet. And he's like, I'd like to meet this Oster. And she's like, well, I'll introduce you to some monks. They should be able to help you with that. I feel like that's like somebody being like, man, I want to get to know Jesus. And she's like, let me hook you up with some preachers. They'll introduce you to Jesus right away. And he's just like, but even more than meeting with this God, I'd like to see these mountains. You seem to love them very much. And she starts thinking, she's like, I do. And she's misses home. But at the same time, she, stuff here is kind of cool. And then he has a whole thing where he's like, I suspect the mountains are beautiful. However, I believe the most beautiful thing in them has already come down to me. And it's like, aw, you have the heart of a charmer. And that's where we get the discussion.
That was a line.
Yes, right?
I'm like, man, that line, there's no way you didn't know what you were doing there, man.
It's so cheesy. We get the discussion of how he sees things differently here. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's where this conversation took a turn for me. I'm like, okay, guy. Okay.
You're like, dial it back a little bit, dude. But he's like, my mother taught me not to judge people based on looks. The travelers in my storybook must not judge the old ugly woman, for she might be a beautiful goddess inside. It's like Beauty and the Beast, where the 11-year-old gets cursed for 10 years for being a jerk. And so he says, I don't see the same way other people do. All these colors are so extreme in my eyes, basically. All people are wonderful. And so when I speak of beauty, I must speak of things other than these colors. And you are different. I do not know how to describe it. Siri is different, certainly from anything he's probably experienced. So I don't fault him for having trouble latching on to what it is about her that's different. And then she's like, oh, geez, I'm suddenly aware of how close we are to each other, and I'm not wearing very much. This could be dangerous. Because, she's decided that after the God King has an heir, the God King dies. So moving in this direction may not be a good idea. And he's like, I wish I could let you go home to see your mountains again. Maybe I can explain this to the priests. Which, I don't know how much they act like what the God King says goes. So theoretically, if he was like, hey, let's send the queen home for a couple of weeks to visit her family, then they should be like, oh, yes, your majesty, whatever you say, your majesty. But how much do they actually listen to the God King? We don't know, because doesn't really get to talk to them much.
They're listening to the God King through, is it Trellides?
Yeah, Trellides is high priest.
Yeah, so what Trellides says goes. That messages would never get out.
Probably not. I mean, I guess we don't know that for sure. We've seen that Trellides is claiming the God King has commanded things that we have not seen him command. Like, he never said the books had to stay in the library as far as we know. He certainly didn't indicate that he had said that. But, I mean, I guess we don't know for a fact that Trellides never listens to the God King if the God King wanted him to do something.
They get another note in the divine script or whatever it is, and Trellides is just Neil Patrick Harris in unbearable weight and just goes, oh, throw that in the fucking trash.
Oh man, I was watching that the other day. Got it on DVD.
Great movie.
Yeah, it is. But
why'd you buy it on physical media?
I like to have things on physical media. They can't take that away.
It's true.
Yep.
They also can't edit it.
Right?
I'm happy with them not day one patching my movies.
It seems so bizarre that they can patch movies now. Like in their theatrical run, they can change scenes.
Yeah.
It's so strange. The world, what it has come to. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. The world is a vampire.
But they taught him to use the artisan script, which it's tough, but they taught it this so he could communicate with them if he needed to. And we heard the artisan script referred to back towards the beginning of the book, where Lightsong reads a poem composed in artisan script, which is basically just dots of color. And so it's like, you may even have to be, I'm not sure, I don't think it's specified, but you may even have to be like a higher heightening to sense the differences between colors to correctly read it. I don't know.
if the God King is like higher than everyone else with all his power, he could probably see even more definitions that the author didn't intend to put in there.
That's true.
So like he could be mistranslating everything. Just like, oh my God, this poem is such an epic work of the great thing. So the author said that poem was about his cat.
Not mutually exclusive. It could be an epic cat.
This one was not. He lay on the windowsill. He swatted a bug. That was it.
And she's like, well, if you tell them you want to send me home, then they might figure out that you've been talking to me. And he's like, well, I mean, maybe that would be a good thing. And she says, they're planning to kill you. And he's like, you don't have any proof of that.
You don't have a plan. Yeah,
And
she doesn't have any proof.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. She doesn't have proof. It's just, this is a suspicious coincidence about the last two God Kings. And he's like, nah, you're just too untrusting. I keep telling you, my priests are good people. Except for the part where they remove my tongue. And she's like, well, and the part where they keep you locked up and don't talk to you. And look, even if they're not trying to kill you, then there's things they're not telling you. And she goes, how do you pass on your breaths? Because we know that from what we heard from the priests earlier, that these breaths have been passed on from God King to God King since the original trove or whatever that Peacegiver left of breaths, right? So, or I guess we learned that from Bluefingers, actually. As far as we know, you can only give your breath away by being like, my breath to yours, blah, blah, blah. He can't do that. He doesn't have a tongue. So how does the God King give their breaths to the next God King? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, is there some way they could take them from you and give them to your son? Could that kill you? And he's like, oh, they wouldn't do that. And she's like, but maybe that's what happens. Maybe that's why having a child is so dangerous. To make a new God King kills you in the process. And he says, I am a god. I'm not given breaths. I'm born with them. And she's like, no, Bluefingers told me. You've been collecting breaths for centuries. The God King gets 2 a week instead of 1, so you build up a reserve. And he goes, well, actually, some weeks I get like 3 or 4. And she says, but you only need 1 to survive. He's like, yeah. So they can't let all of those breaths just die with you. They have to give them to the next God King. And he said, but the return can't use their breaths for awakening. So however many breaths I have, it's useless. And she goes, does that mean just the breath that you're born with? Or does that include the extra breaths that you get on top of that? Which is a discussion that we've had where when we were told that the return can't awaken, it's like, if they get extra breaths, can they awaken things? And the God King apparently has a lot of extra breaths. So this is a valid question. And he doesn't know the answer to her question. And she's like, that's why they removed your tongue, so that you can't access all of these thousands of extra breaths you have.
Pretty awful.
It is, right? I mean, assuming she's right, yeah, that's messed up. It's like, instead of teaching him to use the power responsibly and be good with it, they're just like, nah, it's too dangerous. Cut out his tongue. Don't let him use it. Then we don't have to worry about it.
And also, like, I guess my question is, what are they building up to, right? So it's like, if they're stacking all these extra breaths, and they could be used for some awakening power, like, what is the purpose behind it? What do they want? What's the goal?
Yeah, if they're not going to let him use it, then why collect all these extra ones? Apparently they have to pay for them. They pay people every week to do this, and sometimes 3 or 4 people. So why? That's a great question.
Maybe if he gets killed physically, then all the power just bursts out of him like a bomb. Maybe that's what they're going to do to Idris. They're just going to like get it, like have him in a plane and just throw him out on top of the Capitol, and then when he hits the ground, he just.
Or I wonder if like the buildup is for some kind of heightening heretofore unknown. Like, eventually, if he gets enough breaths, he'll be at like this crazy transcendent heightening, and he'll truly be like a god.
Yeah, I mean, we've been told the God Kings are like the only ones to reach the 10th heightening. So what happens if you get to the 11th heightening?
Yeah, the 11th metal. It's all coming together now, baby.
Yeah.
We're going Spinal Tap. We're kicking this shit up to 11.
Yeah.
And then he gets kind of like down, and she's like, what's wrong? Is it because I keep challenging the priest? And he's like, no. I mean, you have interesting theories. I think they're just guesses. You don't really know the priest's plan, but that doesn't bother me. It bothers me that you don't believe I'm a god. That's why you treat me different from everyone else, because you don't believe in my godhood. Is that the only reason I find you interesting? Yeah, I mean, literally maybe the first person he's ever communicated with in any way that doesn't believe that he's a god. So
Also, like, whoa, buddy, you need to figure that out for yourself. Like, if you only find me interesting because I don't believe in you, I mean, come on.
Right? And it's like, and if you don't believe, it makes me sad because a god is who I am and what I am. So if you don't believe, then that makes me think you don't understand me. And he's like, yeah, I sound petulant. I'm sorry. He is intelligent and actually not pretty well spoken, considering that this is the first time he gets to communicate with anyone in this language.
Buddy, your job is not your personality.
Shouldn't be, anyway. And she's like, I don't have to believe in you to understand you. Really, I'd say the people who worship you are the ones who don't understand you. They don't get to know who the real you. And she says, I'm not the only one. Like, I'm not different just because of that. There's other people in the palace, like Bluefingers and the servant girls, the ones who wear brown. They don't believe in you. Not that way. And she's like, also, I've just never been good at listening. I didn't listen to my father or the monks back home. Maybe that's what you need. Someone willing to look beyond your godhood and get to know you. That is comforting, he wrote, though it's very strange to be a god whose wife does not believe in him. She's like, oh, right, yeah, I'm your wife. That's hard to remember sometimes. I should think it would do every man good to have a wife who isn't in awe of him and everyone as in awe of him as everyone else is. Somebody has to keep
And everybody applauds.
Yeah. It's like all the women clap. Somebody has to keep you humble. And he's like, I think humility is somewhat opposed to the opposite of godhood, like sweetness. That's when we cut out there.
Yeah. Hey, you're doing it wrong. Vin was a humble god for like a minute.
Vin was a vengeful god.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really was. Nobody's really worshiping her, though. They worship Kelsier later on, and I'm not sure he's the best god.
Sazed is a humble god.
Yeah, it doesn't stop him from, like, manipulating wax pretty horrifically, because it was what needed to be done.
True.
We cut back to Vivenna, who is back in the Didenir garden, and now there's 4 dead guys. Denth had brought her here after she asked to show, like, what happened here. These guys were killed by Nightblood, it appears, because she can see the difference in the wounds. And he's like, yeah, you see it? This is what he does. This is why we're worried. And so she says that the wounds have a black tinge to them, like they've been infected with some terrible disease. And she's like, well, who were they? And he says, some thieves that we worked with. She's like, you think he might come for us? And Den says, I don't know. He could probably find us if he wanted to. I don't know. Jules and Claude are on alert. None of us see him anywhere. And she's like, what happened to, like, their skin? And Dent says, that is his sword. We have to find a way to deal with it. We're going to end up crossing him eventually. I can feel it, so we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do. And Vivenna's like, what's this? What's the sword? How could it possibly do that? And kind of ignoring the question, Tongfa's like, we got to steal the sword. And Dent's like, I'm not touching that shit. No. We have to make him use it, draw it. He won't be able to keep it out for long. And after that, we can take him easily. So that's an interesting little bit all by itself, where he's like, if he draws the sword, he won't be able to keep it out for long, and after that we'll be able to take him easily. So what does that mean?
That's what happened to the dude in the palace, wasn't it? He drew the sword part way, and then he went down like a ton of bricks, and his hand was decolored.
Yeah, so like it sucks maybe breaths out of you as you use it. So it's like, if you don't want to lose all your breaths, you gotta like not use it, or at least it sucks the color out of you.
Yeah, definitely discolored his hand. I don't think it was the sword that brought him down. He started to unsheath the sword, and Vasher like punched him. But
yeah, either way, it's sucking color off of you. That's no good.
Maybe that's why he lived. Like, he pulled the sword out, and then Vasher punched him, and then that's like he didn't have it long enough for it to kill him.
Maybe. And Jules is like, he beat Arsteel, and Den says he did not beat Arsteel, not in a duel at least. Vasher used a trick, ambush, accomplices, something. Vasher is no duelist. So, I mean, we haven't seen Vasher really sword fight. Maybe Dent is right. Maybe he's not that good with a sword. Dent seems to know something about him at least. So, and Vivenna can feel somebody watching her, somebody with a lot of breaths. She doesn't seem to say anything about it, but that's when we cut to Vasher and Nightblood. And Nightblood's like, hey, it's Vera Trellides. So maybe Dent is related to Trellides? I don't know.
Yeah, that's like okay, we need to talk about that, because the fuck does that? Is Vara just the first name? Is Denth just Trellides going out among the common people? Because all the people, like, the only perspective character who's met Trellides in the palace is Siri. Mm-hmm. She's never met Denth, and Vivenna's never met Trellides in the palace. So, like, for all we know, it's the same dude. And Vara is just, like, a title or something or a first name.
Maybe Vera Trellides is like son of Trellides. Maybe he's Trellides' son.
Exactly where I was going to go with it. Yep.
My first thought was actually like father of Trellides, but I'm like, well, they couldn't name you that when you were born. That wouldn't make any sense. And Nightblood's like, we should go talk to him. He'll be happy to see me. And Vasher confirms that Vera Trellides and Denth, same person. Denth is a more recent name, apparently. And he's with his team. That woman Jules, Tonkfa, as always, the clueless princess, and the abomination. So apparently he considers Lifeless to be an abomination on some level as well.
Is it calls that, or he clearly knew Arsteel? Is he just consider the fact that it's Arsteel to be an abomination?
Oh, that might be it, yeah. And he calls Vivenna the clueless princess, which is funny. And Nightblood's like, is Shishara here? We need to go see her. She'll be worried about what happened to me. We killed Shishara long ago, Nightblood. Just like we killed Arsteel. Just like we'll eventually kill Denth. As usual, Nightblood refused to acknowledge Shishara's death. She made me, Made me to destroy things that were evil. I'm rather good at it. I think she'd be proud of me. We should go talk to her. Show her how well I do my job.
This is weird.
Yeah, we're getting all sorts of information here. Someone named Shishara made Nightblood, made him to destroy things that were evil. And Vasher says we killed Shishara. So Nightblood and Vasher together killed Shishara.
But for some reason the sword, which I know the sword's kind of weird and funny, like doesn't have a good brain for remembering things, like, but it's weird. It's like, oh yeah, I don't remember this Shishara said. I'm gonna act like you didn't say that.
Yeah, he just can't accept that his maker is dead, apparently, or it. I don't think is Nightblood gendered in this book? I don't recall.
I don't know.
Yes.
It says Nightblood asked excitement in his nebulous voice. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a sword. It doesn't necessarily need a gender, but
no.
And Vasher agrees. You are good at it. Too good. And Nightblood began to hum quietly, pleased at the perceived praise. And Vasher staring at the princess, thinking because of her, so many things were falling apart. Plans toppling like badly stacked boxes, creating a racket with their collapse. Didn't know where Denth had found her or how he kept control of her. But Vasher was sorely tempted to jump down and let Nightblood take her. Which that wouldn't be good. Unless we've decided we don't like Vivenna. That's messed up.
I don't like Vivenna. No, I'm just kidding.
And he thinks, no, I've already drawn too much attention tonight. Nightblood's right. I'm not good at sneaking.
Yeah, it's weird to me that he killed these guys, especially off page. It's like, even if they worked with Denth, like, what was his real motive for killing them? Like, was it purely because they worked with Denth, or because for some other unknown reason?
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, it could have been a coincidence that they worked with the Denth. But yeah, who knows? Maybe Denth's other associates need to watch out for themselves. And so he thinks later, turning from the silly girl and her mercenary entourage later. And that's the end of our chapters. So, yeah, like the Vasher section is kind of heavily loaded with interesting tidbits, as we discussed sort of at the beginning of the episode. So, lots to take in there. But at least we got to see Vasher again. You guys were getting to wonder what he was up to. Apparently killing random people in the statue garden is what he's been up to. So let's do predicaments. What do you guys think? Where are we going? What's going to happen next?
Gosh, I didn't even remember what I talked about last time, honestly. So I'm just going to say that Vasher, I think, will eventually come face to face with Denth, and there'll be some kind of fight. I can't pin down what Vasher's motive is. It's like he doesn't want Vivenna to screw up the war. Why does he want the war? Does he want the war? What is she screwing up that he doesn't like? And then we've got this new information about Denth, but what does it really mean? Does it matter? Vera Trellides, is he related to the High Priest? Is he not? I'm going to go ahead and say that Trellides is maybe it's a common name, or maybe it's not even his name. Maybe it's his title.
Like every other person is called Trellides. We just don't know it yet.
Right. Either that, or like Trellides is a title, and he just has the title because that one guy's name is Bluefingers. That's obviously not his name.
No.
So maybe Trellides is a title. Maybe Denth was a priest at one time. I don't think they're the same person. it doesn't seem like somebody in the priest Trellidy station would be able to go back and forth through the city like that without people noticing, because obviously he has lots of things he has to do. And so I don't think that it's the same guy, but maybe it was his title at one point. This person that made Nightblood, I don't know how they did it, but the way that Nightblood said like he was created for a singular purpose to destroy evil, it makes me think maybe he's an awakened blade, and somehow the awakened blade is so awakened that it's like now has a personality of some sort, and like the command was to destroy evil, but much like Robot Santa in Futurama, it has trouble actually differentiating between evil and good because it's not like a real person. So maybe that's, everybody's evil in his eyes, in his sword eyes. Everybody's equally punishable. So that's kind of where I'm feeling on Nightblood with that. What else do I have? I don't know. I wish there was more Vasher. He seems like the most interesting person in the book. So maybe that's because he's so mysterious. He's a sexy drifter, much like Hoyd. So I gotta know more about him. I don't know.
He seems to be a very scruffy drifter, to be fair.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's not sexy.
He's like start of the trilogy Aragorn.
Right. I didn't say Hoyd was sexy because he's sleek looking. He's just sexy drifter.
Okay. I like this idea that it's just like a super extra awakening. Like,
I don't know how it works.
But yeah.
I mean, don't ask me the breakdown of how it works because I have no idea. But
it's a fun idea anyway.
Yeah. I mean, what other magic in this world that we've come across could have created such a thing? It has to be some kind of like awakening thing.
That is the magic that they use.
Yeah, pretty exclusively they use the breaths to awaken. So,
and then
just see really good, or hear really good, or smell really good, or whatever.
Other than that, you have color changing hair, and that may be the only other magic we've seen.
Yeah, which that's still confusing to me too. That it's like in the annotations he says that no, it really is the lineage. I'm like, well, how does that work?
I just like the idea of like once you were describing Nightblood as like Robot Santa, it's like, oh my god, is Nightblood voiced by John Goodman?
Yeah,
that would not have been the voice I thought of. No,
only in one episode, because then after that it was John DiMaggio.
Yeah, but it's John Goodman. Let's just fantasize for a moment and imagine that.
Let's fantasize. That's my fantasy, John Goodman as Nightblood. What a fantasy.
Curious now if there's like what the thinking is out there in the fandom about who would voice Nightblood. Let's see what people are saying. Nolan North. Yeah, that might be a little obvious.
Yeah, he's already voiced so many things. Do we really need to give him one more thing to voice?
Someone's like something like a Ryan Reynolds style. I guess I could see that.
Yeah, I guess.
This person says childish adult makes me immediately jump to Charlie Day.
Oh, please no.
That would be way weird. He's just like, Vasher, we gotta get out of here. They're going crazy, Vasher.
Claptrap.
I don't know. Somebody, maybe like a kid's voice, like a young boy's voice. That might make more sense.
Gilbert
might be a little
Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried is dead, but that would be a choice.
Yeah. That would be no.
Kelsey Grammer, that could be interesting.
I don't know. I don't feel like he can pull off the I want to kill a bunch as well.
Sideshow Bob.
Wait.
Yeah, but then he's just doing Sideshow Bob.
No, I got it. Schwarzenegger.
No, I don't think so.
Look, it's Vara Trelevis. We should go talk to him. He'll be happy to see me.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sashara, she made me, to destroy evil. That's what I do. She'd be so happy to see me. We should go see her. She's dead. We killed her. We should see her.
Taika Waititi. Huh. Do like a serious New Zealand accent on Nightblood.
It's like, hey man, we should go see Sashara. She'd be happy to. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm a bit burnt out on Taika the actor. I'm still fine with Taika the director, but yeah, Taika the actor I can take or leave at this point.
Yeah.
Pink
You know what show he does that
brain.
I actually recently discovered that I like is What We Do in the Shadows. It's pretty good.
Oh, I haven't seen the show, but I've seen the movie it's based on. That was one of his first movies. It was really good.
Yeah, I wanted to watch the show, but I was like, I should do the movie first, and I haven't actually done the movie yet to start watching the show. Alan Tudyk can voice anything. I'm okay with.
Oh
that.
yeah, yep. Alan Tudyk is always a solid choice.
Sure. K2SO, you know.
Ralph Wiggum. This person says I always hear Ralph Wiggum's voice. That's a choice.
That is a choice.
Yeah.
They make a Nightblood pendant, which
Nightblood pendant. Sounds spooky.
it looks cool. Not really what I would. Ooh, Jeff Goldblum. That would be a thing.
That would be a thing. I don't know if
That
it would
would
be
be
the
a
thing.
thing.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum is always a thing. That's just.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I wonder when he was born if his mom was like, "You're gonna be a thing."
I was gonna show you guys what Nightblood looks like. Here we go. Paste into the chat.
Ooh.
All right, let's see what this is gonna be like. Old Nightbloody.
Yep, that's a sword.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sure is a sword.
You know,
Very
if I was,
sword-like.
if I was cooler, it might be interesting.
Okay, sorry. We got way off on a tangent there. Whose turn is it to do the
It's mine.
predicament?
Should be Dak, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I don't really know. Like I said, like that last little thing, especially the Vara Trelides thing, just sort of blew my mind. It's like, oh, this puts a whole new spin on it, because if he is related to or connected to the Trelides that we know in some way, like, are they secretly working together? Trelides controls the palace, and Vara Trelides controls the underworld and controls the rebellion. Is like, are they trying to manipulate towards the war on both sides of things?
Oh.
So yeah, where I'm going is I think Denth and the other Trelides are in cahoots, and they're trying to, like, they're the two big villains from each side of the story, like one in the palace and one in the underworld. So I don't know, maybe they'll combine in some sort of mecha Trelides at the end.
Mecha Shiva.
Yeah, I mean, they can manipulate objects around them, so maybe they could just like Megazord into something with various awakened objects.
Yeah,
Ooh.
the guitar riff comes in. It's like,
Yeah.
go
Um,
Trelides.
Yes, let's make that happen. But yeah, so I got really stuck on that, and it's like, okay, so these guys have got to be teamed up, and they're trying to make the war happen, and it'll finally come down when they're cornered together.
I like that. It's begging for some sort of explanation of
Yep.
like, these names are too similar to be a coincidence.
That fucking carrot got dangled.
Yep. They're secretly brothers or cousins or
Yeah, unless like Joe said, Trelides is the title, and Vara could mean Grand Trelides. We assume that Vasher is impossibly old. Maybe Denth is as well, and so he's the Uber priest, the Vara Trelides.
Ah.
So he's been around. He's been around for ages and ages as well. So he's like the priest of priests.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Denth and Vasher know each other somehow, and clearly they've got a long history. So who knows exactly how long? That's a good point.
And Denth clearly knows what Nightblood can do. So.
Well, yeah, and I mean, based on what Nightblood is saying, he's like, hey, let's go talk to him. We'd be happy to see me. So clearly they know each other.
Yeah, but like not just they know each other, but like Denth knows what happens when you pull Nightblood out of the sheath.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So he's seen him in action. He's fought either with or against him in the past. He knows.
Maybe Trelides is the last name, and the two of them are married.
Yeah, why not?
I was going to go with that they're brothers. They're twins. Long lost twins or something.
Ooh.
They've been separated to, I don't know, wreak havoc everywhere. Spread it all out. That was just off the cuff. So I think, I don't see what the purpose of having the same name in there twice is for them to not be linked. So there's some kind of linkage there. We know, going back onto kind of Siri's thoughts about, they cut your tongue out so you can't awaken anything. You can't do anything. If you can't speak or give the command, you can't give your breath away.
Mhm.
What if Nightblood is the tool that they use to take all the breath off the gods when they die? And so if Trelides and Vara Trelides have got some kind of linkage there, perhaps this is how they know what Nightblood does firsthand, because then that's a way for you to take the breath away forcibly. Everyone else has to give the command, but you wouldn't want that out. And if it's leaching the color, leaching the breath, like Vivenna says that, like, the blood's been drained away, it's literally the color's being drained away. So yeah, just by touching Nightblood, it's kind of like this black hole of breath collection. Maybe it's got more breath than anyone else, even the gods, or God. The Return don't really have a lot, but yeah, it could be onto something. Maybe the priests and stuff aren't the ones that are trying to take it away. Maybe I mean, Vasher's got Nightblood at this time, but maybe it hasn't always been Vasher. But maybe Nightblood does somehow get to the palace, and the thought of, well, if anyone figured out that Nightblood had already been in the court of the gods, that would be pretty terrifying. Getting closer and closer.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I mean, if they know about Nightblood, then that would be scary to find out if it was hanging around. If it's that serious,
keep the god locked away, or keep God locked away. He can't give away the command, but he also can't. He's not allowed out. He's not allowed to do anything. You minimize your interaction with the public.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult for anyone to get Nightblood into you.
Can't stab what you can't see.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah, and I think there was an earlier theory that it was like Nightblood could kill the God King or something like that, and maybe Vasher's shown up every once in a while to do this. You're right that we don't know how long Vasher has had it or who had it before. We know that apparently Shashara created Nightblood, and Vasher says that they killed Shashara long ago, however long ago is. But yeah, we don't know more specifics than that, so who knows?
Maybe Shashara is, I don't know how it would work for the previous God King. Maybe Shashara is the daughter, the one that got overlooked. And then the second born is the male, so becomes the God King. Maybe Shashara is the firstborn.
That's an interesting point too, because yeah, I mean, we learned that there was a daughter that I guess doesn't get to inherit because she wasn't magical or whatever. So even if it wasn't that one, if that happens whenever a daughter is born first, then that 50% chance that happens every time.
Yep.
I like this. These have all got some potential. You guys had some interesting stuff this time. Okay. Let me see. So for next time, we are reading 3 more chapters, 30, 31, and 32. I was going to say we're pretty consistent, except we're not, because after that it'll be 4, and then it'll be 6, and then it'll be, so yeah, we're no consistency. I won't say that.
Sanderlanche, eh?
I mean, yeah, hold on. Let's take a look here. After next week, it goes 4, and then 6, and then 5, and then 4, and then 4, and then the last one is 3 chapters and an epilogue. So actually, towards the end, it gets kind of a little bit consistent again. How far are we here? We are 44%. So we're almost halfway. Wait, is that right? I thought we already hit halfway at some point.
Yeah, you said last week we hadn't hit halfway, and I was surprised. But then looking at the book this morning, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure we're past halfway.
Yeah, I think so.
See, I don't know if my edition has a bunch more stuff at the end, but since I'm on the Kindle app, it says we're only 40-something%. Last week we were 30-something%.
We were more than 50% of the way through, like, chapter-wise, or are we? Hold on. No, there's if you count the epilogue as a chapter, and the prologue, if you count them both as a chapter, there's 60 chapters. So we are almost halfway through chapter-wise. And text-wise, yeah, I guess we're not quite halfway through. Wow, really? Huh. Just in pure text, we're about halfway. There must be some extra stuff at the end of the Kindle edition that's throwing my count off slightly. But yeah, we're just about halfway through text-wise. So
got some extra zebras in the back there.
Yeah, exactly. That's That's where they throw them all. It's just zebra, zebra, zebra at the end. But yes, so we have passed now officially the halfway point chapter wise, because this is going to be episode 8 of 15 for this book. So smooth sailing from here, I'm sure. We do not have any new emails this week. We still have one email in the box that's like, read this at the end of Warbreaker. So that'll be a little while still before we get to that. We do not have any new patrons. We do not have any new reviews. So, all right, simple, easy. Music by Miracle of Sound. If you'd like to email us, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Patreon, where as of recording this, I am... How many episodes have been posted? We're up to the the 5th episode of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter has gone up. And that's the 5th out of how many will there be? 42 divided by 3 is... I don't know why I suddenly can't do... Oh, it's 14. Sorry. My brain apparently did not want to math for a minute there. So, yeah, 5 out of 14, about a third of the way through my coverage of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Although by the time this episode comes out, at least 2 more should have gone up. So, if you're interested in hearing my reactions to that, go ahead and look at that. I'll be putting up, since I just today got my Yumi and the Nightmare Painter box, I'll put up the unboxing videos for the boxes that have new books are always pretty short, because it's just like, here's a book, here's a bookmark, here's a pin, and like one other, like a sticker or something. So that'll be a short one, but you'll see that up on the Patreon as well. So if that's the kind of stuff you want to see, feel free to join the Patreon or our Discord, where many strange and wonderful conversations are had. You can find the link to join our Discord at the top of our webpage, www.thesanderlanche.com. So remember, 3 chapters for next time, 30, 31, and 32. And wasing to the time of next. Colo? P.S. Vasher.
Hey!